Hello, I'm George Abernathy. I'm the proud president of FreightWaves. Welcome to Fuller Speed Ahead. I always appreciate it when Craig gives me the opportunity to do a Fuller Speed Ahead, particularly in an area, well, I'm really interested in the kinds of things that we're going to talk about today around driver recruiting, driver applications, around the driver situation that confronts us. And I'm really pleased today to have Marilyn Surber joining us. Marilyn, thanks for doing this. I think we're going to have some fun.
Thanks for having me, George. I'm really excited to be here. I'm always happy to participate with any of my FreightWaves friends. We always have a good time.
Thank you. Yeah, I know you've done some of the FreightWaves platforms, your first time in Fuller Speed Ahead. So for those who have watched Marilyn on some of the things that she's done, Marilyn served as a transportation advisor for the folks at Tenstreet. And Tenstreet, for a lot of you in the industry know, they use automation that helps recruit and onboard qualified drivers, which is one of the things that we'll get into today, just how significant technology and the data around technology in that does that. So Marilyn, why don't we just set the table a little bit? If I could ask you, Tenstreet, web-based provider around the solution for driver recruitment and the applications. Why don't you just describe Tenstreet to the folks who are watching a little bit?
Yeah, thanks. So Tenstreet is a software that connects drivers and carriers, and we really want to help the carrier manage the entire life cycle of the driver from one platform, from, as you mentioned, starting in the recruiting aspect, from the marketing and how they recruit drivers to how they manage incoming applications to how they onboard them, and then even how they can manage and train them post-hire. So we want to help the carrier there, and we want to help the driver manage their whole career, right, through the app, kind of in the same way, right? When they're looking for a job, we want to help them do that. We want to help them take video training, and enhance their own personal growth and career, and we want to help them communicate with their existing carrier, right, once they get hired on somewhere.
I think it's poignant that you used a word right there that we need to be really thoughtful about in the driver experience with carriers, and as the connection that Tenstreet is doing, is it's a career, and that if we are able to address it as a career and have all the way through the process be treated as a career, not simply as a job, it is, I think, going to be more accepted, something where if I'm thinking about where am I going, what am I going to do as far as my career is concerned, looking at it as a career rather than simply a job, I think is critical. So let me take a step back on Tenstreet a little bit. I know, I think 2006 is when it was started, so it's been around for a long time. Around the sheer numbers of applications, the counting in the millions, the number of applications and resulting drivers that have worked, there really is no other technology provider that is anywhere near that kind of scale as Tenstreet has. Is that correct?
That is correct. We've been around since 2006, and we're really leaders in the applicant tracking space for trucking specifically, right? And we have to help drivers manage their career and recognizing that as career. I would say Tenstreet, we were really early on in that through Driver Pulse, which is our driver app, and also through our Intella app. Right? So the power of Intella app is really pre-population. So by helping drivers manage their career, whenever they fill out an Intella app for the first time, which for a lot of drivers is in truck driving school, right? It allows them to save their information and build their profile so that when they fill out an application the next time, all of that information will pre-populate for them, right? And so that's really the power of our technology, and that's the power that we're leveraging of our network. As you said, millions of drivers have filled out Intella apps since 2006. And so if they've ever filled out an Intella app and created that profile, it allows them to leverage that existing information to fill out the next app, which is really a game changer for the driver, right? It can take 30 minutes up to an hour to fill out a DOT application. And so if you're a driver looking looking to change, looking either to start your career or change jobs, you're probably applying for at least 3, maybe even 6 jobs. That could be 5 or 6 hours of applications, right? But if you're managing your career through Pulse and using one app, you can do all of that in 10 minutes, right? Because you're just updating your profile and applying to the carriers. And so, yes, no one else has the Intella app or has that power of our network. We have almost 3,000 clients, carrier clients of all sizes, right? So carriers with a couple of trucks, 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 trucks, and then carriers with 10,000 trucks. So we really have solutions to help you no matter what size of company you are.
So as you talk about the technology, and a lot of my background, I've been around optimization, I've been around telematics, the utilization of the data, what FreightWaves is doing now, and the unique offering that we've got around data. I think the launch of what you see Tenstreet doing now in the new safety solution sort of combines that telematics data and the connectivity that's happening within the system and that sort of the platform or ecosystem itself. Why don't we spend some time on the exciting news around the launch of this new safety platform or solution? Can you give us a little bit of specifics around that?
Yeah, I would love to. So I'm really excited about this because I spent over 10 years working at a trucking company, right? And really dreamed of having a system where I could pick up the phone and call a driver and understand the full picture of that driver when I picked up the phone to call them. So again, if I'm calling a driver, whether that means I'm a safety coach, right, and I need to coach them maybe on something that they need to correct or work on, or maybe it's just a regular safety training that I'm reaching out to them for. If I'm going to give them a performance review, if I'm responding to a survey request, maybe I need to terminate the driver, whatever the reason is to call the driver. Our system is now allowing that person to have a platform where they can leverage the entire picture of the driver. So we talked about the life cycle. So we're going here, you're seeing the pre-hire data so we have all the pre-hire information. Where did this driver come from? Now we see what have they done since they've been here, right? What events have happened? Have they received any accidents? Have they received any information that they've picked up, any violations that they've picked up while they've been here? And then now we're adding in telematics events, right? So, and we're also adding in CSA integrations. So we've added in all of this functionality to allow you, a carrier, to manage all of those events from one platform. So now not just the recruiting, the pre-hire information, but we have integrations with Lytics, we have integrations with Geotab, we have integrations with Keep Truckin'. So a safety person can respond to a Lytics camera event in the same platform, right, where they are reviewing their PSP to see what the driver had on their PSP when they were hired on, right? So then they can say, okay, here's what was on their PSP and I have this information, and now here's the events that have come in. Well, how do I need to appropriately coach this driver? So what our system is doing is leveraging all of the data points that a company has on a driver and allowing them to respond appropriately based on that information, right? So to really kind of have that ironclad process. And you mentioned automation earlier, right? So because we have all of these data points in our system, it allows for some really unique automation, right, that other systems just don't allow for, right? By moving drivers from status to status and by responding to those events in one place, you can coach or assign a training just in one click, right? And, just by saying, oh, this is what this is, I can respond. I have over 170 training titles in this database in Tenstreet. We have those are existing. They can be assigned upon violation or in one click. So it just really allows the interconnectivity of the system, allows you to leverage data points that you wouldn't be able to do if they were all coming from different places.
It really sounds exciting in that you are and has Tenstreet's really stepped up to have that holistic solution. I think a lot about Marilyn, that as there's so many technologies that are out there, but the fatigue that comes with either however many apps that I have to look at, or I have to go into this many systems. When you've said things like, the geo tab and the keep tracking, I'm going one place to find all of this data, and again, getting a holistic view is is critical for me not to have to go from one screen to the next or an app to the next, and it really strikes me that built on top of these millions of data points that are already there is really going to be a compelling solution for the user.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about Tenstreet and kind of what we're known for in the recruiting space is the power, leveraging the power of the data and of one system to hire a driver in the most efficient and complete manner, right? And that's really what we're bringing to the safety space as well, right? Is now you are should be will be able to manage your driver completely, right, from one dashboard and bring in the points that you need. And you mentioned fatigue. Fatigue is one side effect, but then also what are we missing or what are we not doing? Or what are we forgetting to do when we have all of these different places that we have to get the information, right? And so, what we really want to help carriers do is create an automated process and a really tight process, that if for to protect them, right, against audits or against nuclear verdicts, right, to be able to show here's our process and this is what happens every single time an event happens. And because we have this all here and we've put this in place, we know that it happens. We have complete visibility to the process and how it's happening.
Visibility and predictability, that's key to me being able to and trying to manage this significant undertaking around drivers and the like. So it is so cool. So let me spin a little bit, just to entertain me a little bit here. I can't do time with someone inside the industry like you are without asking how the last year and a half or so has impacted the business that you're involved in. And we're talking about Tenstreet here in the offering. Obviously, I've been in this. The gray hair proves I've been in this. I've worked at carriers for decades, and I'll remember probably the first time I heard anyone talk about the driver shortage was my good friend, mentor, and supervisor Kirk Thompson. At the time was president at JB Hunt when I was there, and Kirk talking about the challenges of getting drivers, recruiting drivers, and having to deal with a driver shortage and try to portray that to the shipper customers and how that's evolved now over time. Well, we were talking about it decades ago, and we got hit with a black swan, white swan event about 16 months ago that I think has really taken the driver challenge, the driver shortage to a whole new level. I'm assuming that's what Tenstreet is seeing inside of your data as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I too have been in this industry for a while, right? And so we can talk, and it is unique. To your point, we've been talking about the driver shortage and how can we recruit and retain drivers into our industry. And I will say uniquely, right? The conversations are different now than they were 16 months ago. So we have had things that have come and that are impacting us now that maybe wouldn't have happened, right? But if we didn't have COVID, or maybe they would have been delayed, if we wouldn't have seen COVID, if we wouldn't have had COVID. But the market is just smaller now, right? We still see 10 to 15% less applications is what we're seeing now than we were pre-COVID. So that's a lot of applications. 10% less applications in the market is still a lot. And if you talk about student drivers, that's still down even more than 10%. It's closer to 20% down still. That's a big difference. That trickle down effect of student training has really had a huge long-term impact on our industry that we're going to feel for a long time, right? I mean, if you talk to training schools, they're still not training the number of drivers that they were training pre-COVID, and maybe won't be for a while. And so that just has a really huge impact on on who our companies can hire, right? So and because you mentioned JB Hunt, carriers, large carriers or carriers that hire students, they were feeling some of this right up front, but carriers that hire drivers with a year of experience or 2 years of experience, they're now starting to feel some of that pain, right? There just being less drivers in the market. So we saw people leave, that were close to retirement. We saw them go ahead and leave. We see people still sitting on the fence, right, that are not coming back to jobs that have left. We also, it's just it's a unique market. And so that's definitely what we're seeing. But we are seeing technology. Companies are adopting technology, and increasing, how in changing and doing creative things and different things to hire drivers, which they're going to have to do, right? To everybody has to stay competitive. But it's definitely a market like we haven't seen before.
Do you see uh, during the pandemic, or have you seen in now post-pandemic? I think you described what the companies, the carriers are going to have to do in order to get those drivers. Are they, you know, obviously driver pay is always an issue, but are you seeing that carriers are really following through and being, what they need to? What are you seeing as the retention of those, of the smaller pool? We have 15 to 20% less in the pool. I better do a better job of retention in order to offset the fact that I've got lesser of a pool to pull from. Are you seeing those retention numbers, being any better because the carriers are actually carrying through on some of those things that are being offered out there to actually address that driver's concerns?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so Tenstreet acquired Stay Metrics at the end of 2020. And so Stay Metrics is a driver retention survey company. And so we have a product that called Insights, right, which are those driver surveys. And so we do have a unique kind of perspective, right, as a snapshot into those carriers and what retention, what drivers are saying, about companies right now and how that looks different and what retention numbers are doing. But we definitely see, as you know, right, carriers are raising pay, carriers are, asking questions to drivers and doing surveys and I think really kind of paying attention to drivers in a way that it seems to be different, right, than maybe what we've seen before, and asking those questions. Turnover was pretty erratic, if you will. In 2020 it was down right when the pandemic started, and then it ticked back up, and we see it kind of returning a little bit to normal now, to more kind of like pre-COVID retention levels. So better turnover was not a result so far of COVID, but definitely carriers are trying. They really are. It's just the same questions. Just like we've been talking about the driver shortage. We've been saying, how do we retain drivers? We've been talking about that our whole careers as well, and we still are. And I would say carriers are taking it more serious than ever, and doing as much as ever as they can. And to just try, they're still just trying to move the needle and retain as many drivers as they can.
So, just for those who don't know Tenstreet all that well, make it really clear just how broad or wide the folks who use it. Describe it. Am I looking at the typical company that will be utilizing Tenstreet has 5 trucks? Has 500 trucks, has 1,000 trucks? Where's the sweet spot, or is the sweet spot all of that breadth?
So the sweet spot is really all of that breadth. So we have a product. It's called Tenstreet On Demand, and so that's going to be for a smaller carrier, right? That's maybe not hiring drivers all the time, right? So they aren't paying for a service if they're not using a service all the time. So we have a smaller product like that that is good for, any size carrier. And then our express product is also great. If you're, even if you only have, 15, 20 trucks, we're an industry of small businesses, right? Of small carriers, and our suite of products, if you hire drivers, you have to maintain compliance, right? And you have to train them, you have to onboard them. And so we have solutions to help you do all of that in really any size, because everything is so customizable from a process standpoint and how you're going to use this. Every carrier's process is unique. That the system works for you no matter what size you are.
And so with that being said, the on-demand product is so good for those who may not be doing it constantly. Where's the focus with Tenstreet right now to, as you're going forward? The safety product being announced, the user interface, the capability for anybody to use it at any size is there. Where's the next focus? What are we going to be talking about on one of these FreightWaves shows here in the not too distant future that Tenstreet, you guys are seeing out there that needs to be addressed, that is going to be, I don't want the product roadmap, but given how significant the position of Tenstreet is in the market, I'd be really interested to see what you're thinking about would be next as far as how the data can be used, how the metrics can be further defined. What are you guys thinking about?
So we're always thinking about a lot of different things, and our clients are always telling us, how to make things better. And, even in our existing product, we're here talking about safety, right? And we have also, to go along with our safety launch, we have a new product, which is in the lines of surveys, called Fleet Check, right? Which allows you to take the temperature, if you will, kind of like that net promoter score, twice a week, that you can ask your survey. You can ask your fleet, you can dispatch that. We have that product that's brand new as well. We're looking at ways, like I said, we acquired Stay. So there's a lot of things coming with our Insights product, which is a driver retention and survey product. So look for some new things there and how those things are managed, and driver scorecard, the driver scorecard, and what that looks like. And so lots of enhancements, right, in safety, in retention, and our recruiting product as well, right? Because it's so dynamic and changing all the time, we're always adding functionality there. We have a new video chat function that is in beta right now, where you can video chat with a prospective or existing driver in dashboard, right? So if you think about the recruiting and the retention process and the coaching process. So all of everything, right? We're looking into ways always to help carriers hire drivers and retain them better.
So as I want to say, I need to land the plane here pretty soon, but I've really enjoyed the conversation. Let's, always one of the things I want to do when I get somebody who's as close to the industry as you are, Marilyn, let's look at our crystal ball here over the next 3 to 5 years. And now I'm not asking you to be some sort of macro economist who's going to say there's going to be a flood of people coming back on because their benefits are going to change, and 2 years from now the economy is going to be wherever it is. But overall, are you seeing the trends that will tell you that a year from now that the number of applications will be back up and those kinds of things are happening? Or where do you see the trends moving at this point? Tenstreet's obviously going to continue to grow because the offering continues to get better, and when you bring the safety offering into it. But thinking about the industry, you've been in the industry, where do you think we'll be a year or two from now?
I think a year or two from now, we will be probably where we were a year ago. Where we were probably,
Right.
we are seeing numbers inch back up, but we're not seeing any flood back, right? And if
I
you
think that's really
think,
interesting. The inching back up versus, we just don't see the hockey stick happening, which I think is really telling for folks that are viewing right now.
And if you think about the clearinghouse, and you think about retirements and you think about the significantly reduced number of new people in our market, those are really things that can't be undone. You can't take those 60,000 people, who are not eligible to work in trucking again today and put them back into the market, right? There's just unique factors. So I think, and like the thousands of drivers that we didn't train, we will never make up for that. So there are just some things that I think we'll get back to where we were, but I think we still, as an industry, we're definitely, the FAST Act and looking at the, 18 to 20-year-old drivers and how to get them in our market and some of those other things that we have to look at as an industry. I think that those issues are more important than ever.
Absolutely. Well, I do need to land the plane. Marilyn Surber, thank you so much. The conversation around the launching of the new offering, the safety offering from Tenstreet is, I'm really excited. As the kind of industry nerd that I am, this really gets me going. Thank you for talking about it. Thanks for giving a little bit of that crystal ball. I really think that you're spot on with regards to incremental, inch by inch progress. But boy, if somebody sees that there's a hockey stick out there, it's not something that I can see, and I don't know what's going to cause that to occur. So thanks for talking about Tenstreet and all the offerings today, Marilyn. Much appreciated.
Thanks for having me. I'm always happy to be with you guys, and it was really nice to spend some time with you, George.
Thanks a bunch. This was a Fuller Speed Ahead. Anytime Craig Fuller gives me the opportunity to do so, I'm always very appreciative of him doing so. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.